Hi, Chuck.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How's everything going today?
Oh, we get to Monday and there's so many little tiny things that you have to just get dealt with a little bit that it just ends up taking all day. It's
Mondays
not,
would be bad. Yeah. Are
yeah.
you at home working from home?
No, I'm in the city hall today. We had a couple of big, well, not big, but meetings happening. They're just easier to be here. That coordination meeting for COVID, I take notes for
Yeah.
it. It's easier than being on the cell phone.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Smooth.
We did talk about that parking garage a little bit with CDOT and the right of way there and considerations for that. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh, excellent. Glad you
Sounds like
guys
there's
were
a
talking
yeah.
about that.
Sounds like there's a path forward. So
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that.
we'll just figure out what the best way is. And then Walker Parking Consultants, who we've worked with in the past, came and we talked about, the little narrow strip idea with them. So
Right. Well, it's good to kick that around.
yeah. Oh. Did you have a nice weekend? Did you get stuck in town with the traffic jam thing?
I didn't go anywhere, to be honest with you. How about you?
We were going to come look at a house in Empire, and then it was right before it happened. And then I saw it and I was like, there's no way we're going to go sit through that with two kids in the car. So we
No.
just skipped it.
Yeah. I was mentioning to uh, that house that was going to be for rent up there on up by Bob Bullen, and I think he's going to go with 2,000 if he can find the right folks.
I sense
It's a
somebody,
3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's pretty, it's got one of those eagle's nest views.
cool. I sent somebody your contact information email, just who was inquiring about it. Can't remember who that is. Also, Danielle Lewis from the PD is looking for a place too. And she just has a young
Oh, that's
son.
good to know. I've known Danielle for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, we're having a little issue here. Attendee.
I see John Curtis is on as
I
as an
just
attendee.
we're having issues with him getting logged in properly. So I just promoted him. He should come in.
Oh, okay.
Is he coming?
Well, his name
It
just
sa-
popped up.
It says on
Oh,
mute.
there he is.
I hear you.
Is he here? He's rejoining as a panelist. Okay,
All right.
there he is.
All right, there we go.
Hey, John, Scott, how you guys?
Hey, how's it going, Chuck?
Good.
The person called in on 825-7570. Can I add your name to the chat here? Can you hear me?
Hello,
Yes.
you there?
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Good. Can I add your name to our thing here so people can see your name instead of your phone number?
Yeah, I'm Paul Noel Fiorino. F is in father, Iorino, mayor of Brookvale and historian for the founding father of Idaho Springs, Wilson E. Sisk. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to change your name. We're going to have we'll open up for questions as we go, and I will make sure you have your opportunity to speak when that comes.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
John, maybe we could touch base. I think my emails aren't coming to you the right way. So I think we could probably fix it, but I just want to make sure maybe we could do a test one when you have a second and just make sure it works a little easier for you.
Okay, I mean,
Right. Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Mike.
Here. It is Monday, July 27th. This is our public outreach town hall meeting. We have been doing these for, I would say, 6-8 months now. The reason that we started these things was to make sure that our community was well informed and properly informed about the things that are happening in our community, and just open it up for people within our community, businesses or citizens, to come in and ask some questions that they're either not sure of or they heard something different, and give them the opportunity for us to listen to their questions and even tell us what they're hearing, and let us as council clarify those things so there's not the miscommunication or the underinformed things going out into the community that, as we've seen in the past, has really caused some turmoil. So we'll take about the next 35-45 minutes to just go through some things that are happening around the community, where we're at as a city, and those types of things. So I'm just going to open it up to start with our water and wastewater treatment plant, or wastewater plant. Project 1 is winding down. Everything seems to be running down there. They're almost there to say it's 100% complete, and that phase, or that project 1, will be done. We have now signed a contract and gave a letter of notice to proceed to Fisher again to start project 2. So we're looking forward to the continuance of our new wastewater treatment plant. Also with that, we have been working with JDA, our city engineers, and coming and continuing to work on the design of our public works building. And we still are a little bit of a way from the final design of that. They're continuing to stay in contact with us and working with us on the wants and needs of the city. John Bordoni has been doing an excellent job of working beside them, and also our public works crews to identify the need and the wants and how this will be laid out. Of course, once that's all complete, the city, have to figure out the way to pay for it. As you know, with this COVID coming upon us several months ago, we are going to see over the next few months a decrease in our sales tax revenue. And of course, that's what we run our city off of. So we will continue to work with that, continue to come up with some creative ideas and some ways to potentially fund the public works facility.
Mayor Hillman, there's an internet outage in town right now, and I think Councilman Boland has had a difficult time getting in, so he's attempting to. So I just want to tell you that that's happening right now.
Okay, thank you, John. So another project that the community is aware of is our affordable housing project on Colorado Boulevard. The first building of 8 units is almost complete and will be leased out in the very near future. I meant to get the information on how to contact those folks and get your name on the list uh, to potentially take one of those units. John Kane and Sally Rush has been putting it out there of how to contact Herman and Kettle and how to move that forward. Also, the second part of that housing project is well on its way. We see the first and second floor there, and it's going to be a nice building, but it's also going to be uh, kind of a big structure. You know, the more that we look at it, how it's been moved to the street. But I think that it's a great asset to our community. It's something that Clear Creek County has never seen. I think we were very fortunate to be able to go before CHAFA and be able to land this tax credit project. So we're really excited about that and making that continue to happen. And I believe that the ultimate finish time is mid next year, 2021. What we've really been working on is our what we've done downtown for this summer. Once the city, the state, the variance that the county had wrote for Clear Creek County, we were able to open up at a certain percentage. So we have a working group that's been, and it's called a recovery task force that we've been working with pretty much from the week after this all started and the closure has started, and what we were going to do and how we were going to recover from this pandemic. So with a lot of hard work and a lot of great minds dumping things out, we came up with a plan about closing off Minor Street and allowing our businesses to enter to a revocable encroachment agreement that they could use a portion of the street in front of their buildings to expand restaurant seating, expand bringing tents out and selling merchandise of retailers and others. And I believe it's been very successful. You know, it's always been what I like to do as an adaptive management. We have a meeting every week on Monday. It was twice a week we were meeting, but we scaled it back to once a week just to open it up with a panelist of what's going on, what can we do better, what are you seeing out there, what changes should we think about making, and we've done a really good job of doing that, including making 14th and 17th a two-way traffic to help the flow in and out of our parking lots. So that's huge. Of course, we're not back to our full capacity in any of the restaurants, and also the full capacity of the restaurants and keeping the safe distance as people are traveling and walking around our downtown area. As far as sales tax, with this in April, we were very surprised that we were actually up $1,000. We kind of reflected on that. That was probably our grocery store, marijuana, and liquor sales. So we were surprised. We were very surprised about that. And then we had June numbers come in, and we were, I believe, the percentage was 7% down from last year, which equates to about $40,000. And I'm actually very happy about that. I was expecting a much bigger deficit, a much lower number. So, you know, $40,000, of course, is $40,000, but not quite as bad as I think any of the council members or myself were expecting to see. So we'll see as we continue. We get our sales tax report 2 months late. So July will be reported about the second week, almost the second week of August. So we will look for those numbers. That's not right. June numbers. Yeah, June numbers will be reflected in August. So we'll keep an eye on that. I believe that the downtown and what we've done is working very well. I think the community has accepted it. The other thing, you know, we've been talking about doing this since I've been the mayor, and it's always come back to lack of parking. We can't lose 60 to 70 parking places and expect to generate the sales tax and the businesses to do the business they're normally expected to do during the summer months. With it's working fine now, but we also have to remember that probably as a whole, we're probably running about 60 to 65% of the business that we normally run this time of year. And that's why it's somewhat working right now, because we still have the parking problem, but we don't have the parking problem we would have if we tried this last year. Continuing to talk about that, we are actively talking of how long we carry this into the fall and into the winter. Do we open the street back up? Do we allow still some outdoor seating? Is it a hybrid situation that we have a little bit of both? But that's still to come. A lot of decisions to be made by council, and a lot of input to be taken in by our downtown businesses and property owners. Also with that, we are, another thing that we've been working on for many years is a parking deck. I think this is the time for us to really dive in and bring somebody on board to help us get through this. We still have the $2 million that that CDOT has promised us. It's called Senate Bill 267. So that money is still there. We had a conference call today, and it was noted that that money is still available for Idaho Springs to use. And the faster that we get our plans together and shovel ready, the better. I think that all the council and the city will feel that that money could not potentially go away. Along with that is the remainder of the cost of the parking deck. And I'm going to call it, I'm not going to refer to it as I can as a parking deck or a parking structure, but a transit center. So that's what we're going to refer this to, as a transit center as we move forward. So the next part of that is, how do we fund the rest of this transit center? You know, if we've got $2 million and we're looking at anywhere from $5 to $7 million, where does the funds come from? So part of this group, they're working on looking at forming a business improvement district downtown, bringing it to council and lobbying the council to accept it and moving it forward to form that district. With a business improvement district, that would give us an opportunity either to a couple of things, either to put an extra mill on those downtown property owners to help pay for it, or just set up some sort of payment per linear frontage of their property. And or another thing that we can do, it could be a taxing district that we could add an additional sales tax just to that district. It would not include the East End. It would not include anybody outside of that square or that box that the folks downtown draw a line around. So I think we've got some really good traction on this. We're really excited about it. I think we've got all the right players to make this thing happen, and we will continue to work hard on it. There's been some grants that the city has applied for through the COVID-19 pandemic. The city received a $25,000 grant that we're very happy and fortunate to get. And this was to help our residents in the city limits. They could come in and apply through our admin office and get $100 either grant money, cash, that could help them pay a water bill, electric bill, car payment, or whatever. Or we also had a stack of $100 gift cards for Safeway. And I'd like to thank Safeway for letting us do that and participating with us and making it a successful program. We've expended all that money, that $25,000. We're looking at other grants that the city can apply for to maybe to put these more funds in that pot and continue to help our excuse me, and continue to help our residents get through these troubling times and these challenging times. Let's see. The Clear Creek Economic Development has helped out quite a few businesses in our community to help them get loans for disaster loans, for the COVID disaster fund is what we're calling it. to help these businesses catch up on some bills, pay some vendors off, pay some bills off, electric bills, water bills, and get ready or to get more inventory and help them prepare to get going again. I think I would say 90% of our businesses downtown are open and operating. We did lose one business in the downtown area. That was the Georgetown Candy Factory. They decided that they would just put all their attention and efforts to their location in Georgetown. So as of right now, that's the only business that I've heard actually have packed it up and left. There's been a couple of others that have talked about that they may not make it, but I have not heard a hard any notice that this has happened and they're going away, that we would have another available storefront. Another thing that's coming up in within the week or middle of next week, the county has through the CARES Act received some funds, more funds to help out small businesses. Now these won't be loans; these will be grants. We are setting up a application process, making it very easy. It's the determination has been that there's going to be $315,000 for the first round of this. Anybody with a business license or sales that generates or collects sales tax for the state. And there's other criteria that will go along with that. There will be some businesses that will not be able to participate. A couple of those are liquor stores and marijuana businesses, but there's also others that won't be qualified to be able to take one of these grants. The way that it's set up now, we're looking at grants between about $5,000 and $20,000. Of course, that's all going to be based on how many applicants we get for that as well. So please discuss if we've got any business owners out there in council. Talk to our business owners so they're well informed. There will be a letter along with an application, a letter of explanation, and the application and the criteria will all go out in a mailing to every business license holder in the county. So that's coming up, and it's going to be coming up very soon. The county has till the end of the year to distribute all this money. And also there will be some money in a reserve that if we run out of these grants, that this money can be tapped into and have another pot of money to help more businesses out. I think it's a great program. I'm hoping that a lot of businesses take advantage of this and help them continue on with their business through our shoulder season that we know is coming up soon. Another thing that, as you know, over the past couple of weeks, and this has been discussed in a policy committee that the leaders and the elected officials and a few others have sat on this policy committee, and the mask order, and it was talked about. Georgetown did their own order within their municipality to go ahead and start mandatory and mandated masks to be worn if they can't accommodate the 6-foot social distancing. And very shortly after that, the county commissioners kind of scratched their heads and through further discussion felt that it was the time for us to implement this countywide. So what they did is they implemented really at the last minute, but I think it was warranted because it was right before 4th of July weekend. And we wanted to have, or they wanted to have something in place. And the municipalities wanted to know that we had something that we could act on, we can enforce, and that we can have the businesses ask people to leave the premises if they're not complying with the mask order. So that is actively in place. There's still some tweaks that the county's looking at doing with it. Georgetown rescinded their ordinance and fell right under the order of the county. And of course, as you all know, within a couple of weeks, maybe about 2 weeks, then the governor did a statewide mandate for the masks. We feel that, especially in the downtown area, most people are complying. They're willing to have the masks on. We still see some things that we need to work on. And that's what our group meeting is on every Monday, is to talk about those things and how to implement that. And enforcement, we always have Chief Malanka on there to make sure that he has input on the enforcement, what the PD can do, how they can help, and give ideas to our business owners of what they can do and how they should react and respond if they have trouble with somebody that's coming into their shop. So that's actively going. We talked a little bit about the parking structure. CDOT, as you know, is still working on the westbound peak period shoulder lane. We saw some traffic, I believe Sunday, where they were out there working, I think a little bit too early. I'm going to talk to CDOT about that, but it did have it go down to one lane, and it was very slow moving westbound, even at 6 o'clock in the evening. So that's something that we'll be discussing with CDOT. That project still is going to continue through the end of the year, well into next year. I think that they're on track and getting this done, and timing. So of course we all know, weather permitting, they can continue to work and get that done. And we'll have the westbound peak period shoulder lane. Other things with CDOT, they are continuing working through our parking lot behind Tommyknockers. There's going to be some more once the summer season's over with, that it will be taken all the way to City Hall. And of course, we're disappointed that they have taken up some of our parking behind Tommyknockers. We've tried to work with them. They just don't have an area to be able to store all the materials and the equipment and everything to continue that project and get through with it. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep the update to this community. Another thing that you've probably seen, a signboard about, I would say it's 2700 Colorado Boulevard, about the census. We're still trying to get those census number up. Our percentage, not only in Clear Creek County, but statewide, is below the average. A lot of folks don't understand how important this is for state funding with the census, and how much it could work for or against our local communities too. So if anybody's out there listening, please take the time. It takes about 5 minutes to do the census. Right now, I believe that they are doing a door knocking campaign. So if you don't want somebody to knock on your door here in the near future, then go online, do the census, and let's get this behind us. Very important. Again, I mentioned the sales tax and where we were going with that. We're going to continue to plug along. The city is very fortunate that we have not had to furlough or lay off any employees. We're going to hold strong on that. We feel that with some of the projects that we have cut and some of the budget cuts that we did, that we will continue to employ everybody that has a job with the city. I've said from the beginning, furloughs and layoffs, I don't want to do it all. If it gets down to it, we have to consider that. That'll be something for council to get together and decide how we would do that and how we would implement something like that. But best case scenario, we won't get there. Everything will start picking up again, and our community will be fine with the monies that's coming into the city. As some know, we worked with the school district very closely about allowing us to use their playground for employee parking. Unfortunately, we've got 26 parking places there, and we usually only see about 8 or 10 cars in that lot. We really would like our employees to park over there. It's a very close proximity to where they work. It's lit, so it's not dangerous to get back to it. And then what that does is it provides more parking for our visitors, which we know that visitors help us make money, help the businesses make money and stay in business. Waitress, all the service industry, they've been, setting back for over 2 months. And the more people that we can get in here as we accommodate the social distancing and the requirements and the mandate from the state. We want to do that and make everybody successful. As we know for right now, the Clear Creek County School District is going to start school back at full capacity. They have a restart program, how they're going to open up and what they're going to do. It is still a draft form. There's some still things that they're working on. I think they've done an excellent job between our new superintendent, Karen Quambach, and others that have been working together to make that happen. It's going to be successful, and I think we can do this safely. And I'm excited, and I think this community is excited about getting the kids back in school on a learning program like they should, and not have to do it remotely or at home or every other day being in the school. Of course, the other thing is Dr. Ryan, Tim Ryan, is our new public health director at the county. After listening to him and being in meetings with him, he has a very good handle on what's going on. He's an epidemiologist, so he's well and very versed and familiar with epidemics and things that we should be looking at. And I think he's going to give us great guidance moving into the future of how to kick this thing and make the rate of what we're having go down even more than what we've had in Clear Creek County. So, and help us protect ourselves from other counties that are either having higher spikes or not abiding by the variances and the state orders that they got. The fire station in Idaho Springs is still in the plans through the fire authority over on 103. We should have, as a city, a deed to that property in the next 6 weeks. Once that happens, we'll talk with the fire authority as a city, and we'll work in an arrangement out for that location. And then the fire authority will start working on a design and concepts and site plan for that new fire station. Another thing that myself has been working on for the last 5 years, and it's much deserved, not only for our citizens in our community, but for our fire authority to have a state-of-the-art facility near and one the interstate and the largest municipality that, unfortunately, but fortunately enough, we get the majority of the calls to our community, and to have a 24/7 staff member right here in Idaho Springs to go to these calls and to react to these calls in a timely fashion and make sure that their times that it takes them to get through those calls are a lot less than what we're getting now. It's very important. The school district, if you don't know, they're doing an assessment on both of their buildings, and those two buildings are Carlson Elementary and the old high school across the highway on 103. What this attempt to do is there was a meeting, it's been probably 4 months ago before COVID, about the idea of we can't figure out what to do with the old high school. Would it be advantageous to us to maybe build a new elementary school, state of the art, within that existing building on the other side of the highway? So they did a public meeting, public outreach. A lot of people showed up to tour the building and talk about it, boards up on the walls to write opinions on and ideas on. And I believe that the school district got a pretty good sense that a lot of the community would accept that. A new elementary school for K through 6 kids would be great. And if this could happen, would it be more advantageous of doing a full remodel of the existing Carlson school, or just take those funds and move them over and put the school on the other side and include some after daycare or after school daycare and other things that our community is lacking right now? Childcare in our community is little to none, and we really need to have a place that parents can know that their kids are safe at after school and before school as they go to work. And I think this is a great plan. We should know the outcome of this assessment probably in mid-August to late August. So we'll keep our ears open on that. And they do a real good job by keeping the city involved and keeping us notified of kind of what's going on and what we should expect to see. Over the last few months, unfortunately, the city, we have lost some really good employees. Two employees resigned on their own, our water and wastewater manager, Dan Wolf, and also Alan Tiefenbach. He decided that he was going to go ahead and retire and move and go to another job. We also lost one of our finance director and close friend and good friends of people in this community, of the city of Idaho Springs and our leadership and all of our employees. We loved her dearly. Sandy Bronson passed away a few weeks ago. She had been battling cancer, and we have been on that roller coaster ride with her over these years. Hate to see that this happened this way. We know she's in a better place. But with that, we're also actively advertising for those positions. We want to go ahead and get those positions filled with full-time staff. There's been some question, is this the right time with the pandemic going on? And I stand strong that we shouldn't let that destroy and hold us back in fully staffing our city and making sure that all of our departments are well staffed and doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, and us not outsourcing by contract, which is costing us a lot more money doing it the way that we're doing it. So those are advertised. Hopefully we will do our application process and be able to move forward with that here in the near future. Ballot question. We're going to talk about tonight at our work session. There's going to be a ballot question for since I've been the mayor, and I think we even tried it before I became the mayor. We've got two positions at the city that are still elected positions. This is an elected treasurer and elected city clerk. We've tried to put this on this, so this position would now and would be moved forward to be an appointed position. We've been very fortunate that we've had a staff member with the city for over 16 years that understood the job, knew the background of the job, and won the election. And I don't know how many years she's been. 8 years, Diane, 10 years as elected.
8.
8 as elected in that position. As we get there, then all of a sudden, in a year and a half, that position will be open. Diane will be retiring. Well, that's what she says now. But and then we'll have to either put on the ballot to get somebody elected for that position, or the city could be able to appoint the position. A couple of things that the community needs to know about that is, one, if it's elected, you have to live in the city limits, which really narrows down the participants or people that actually want to be an elected official, run a campaign, and be in that position. So just the pool that we would have to pull from. And the other disadvantage is it's in a position that there's no qualifications. You don't have to know anything about city government. You don't have to know the municipal code. All you have to be is 18 years old and a resident of Idaho Springs city limits for a year. And so in reality, if we had somebody and they ran unopposed, we could get somebody that has no idea. And that would really put a burden on the city of Idaho Springs. I think we're one of 4 communities statewide that still has an elected city clerk. And I think it's time for us to really look at that and see why it's so important to have a position that we can interview people, have people with resume that says, hey, I already know this. This is what I've done in other communities, and I'm your person to step in there and take it over and continue on with this. you know, a lot of other things. And say somebody wants to get, somebody's not happy with the city clerk, and we start getting complaints, and we see some action from a city clerk that you know, that we don't like as city council, but we as city council not take any action on it. The only way to get rid of that person would to do a recall election on that person, and we know that's very costly, and you know, we really want people to understand that the city has more power to regulate their employees if they're not doing the job. Um, Diane's always done a great job. We're going to hate to lose her in a year and a half, but and also there may be people within our staff at City Hall that have been around the position long enough that they could be the one qualified to step into that position. So that would open it up another advantage to us. So the council is going to be talking about that tonight. This will be something that is on the ballot and has to be voted on by the citizens of this community. We will do our best to answer any questions and give opinions and state why that this council thinks that it's a better opportunity to do it this way. And hopefully we can get the support of our community to go ahead and change that through the election in November. Let's see. We don't have any, besides the affordable housing project, there's no other projects before the city council. The the gondola from the Argo was approved a few weeks ago. Other than that, there's nothing else that's going to be coming to council right away. We're expecting some other things to happen. There was another housing project at 2800 Minor. He did his public outreach, but we've only had some very mild and short discussions on what his future and what he's thinking about doing over there. So that will come up. The school property, the football field and the bus barn has been kind of put on hold until the assessment of those two properties that we talked about earlier has been done. And but there is still, it has not been sold. I don't think they're actively taking any offers on it as we're sitting here, and they're waiting on that. I do know that the construction up at the new high school on Floyd Hill, the turf is being put in, stands are being put in, announcers booths put in. And from what I heard, I think it's the third game of the year that would be opening home game for us here in Clear Creek County with our high school. So we know that they're moving along on that. Other than that, we don't have any other construction. There are bond money that we took out a few years ago, probably almost 3 years now. No other projects on the books. Everything's complete and cleaned up. We don't see ACC out here. So if you're seeing construction going on, it's probably either CDOT or Xcel Energy or CenturyLink or somebody like that. It's not the city. We don't have any additional projects going on at this time. Well, do we have any people on the line, John Kane, that would like to ask some questions or have any concerns?
We have several waiting in the waiting room. I could go through them one at a time, and I was wondering if you wanted to give them 3 minutes time to speak or what process you wanted to use.
Just kind of, yeah, just let's hear their question. Let's get them the information. If we have the information for them, we'll get that for them.
Okay, I'm going to unmute them one at a time. The first one is Danny Tomlinson. And Danny, you'll be allowed to speak in just a second here.
Hi, Jonathan, I'm just signed in to observe.
Okay.
I really don't have a question. I think
Sounds
Amy.
good. Amy does? Okay, let me go ahead and add her. Ms. Tomlinson, I believe you're live now. You're able to speak if you unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. I think that the area down on Minor Street in the business district and the pedestrian effort is fabulous. And when I bring people into town and they see the umbrellas and the people milling around, they think it's charming and really a great addition to our environment. However, I ride my bike up Minor Street from the courthouse to about Two Brothers about 3 or 4 days a week, pretty early in the mornings, usually before 9. And so there aren't very many people out there. A lot of the tables aren't out yet, the chairs aren't out yet, or else they're stacked off to the side. And there is a definite odor in some of the areas where food is being served, especially the areas where food has been dropped on the ground and it's being ground into the asphalt. And in some places it smells mostly like a grease trap. So it's just not very inviting. And I feel badly for the businesses who maybe don't have a hose bib close by. I did notice one today on the front of one building, but I don't know whether or not every business owner could access that single hose bib to wash down their area. But I think something, as summer goes on and we continue to have hot days, it needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you for that, Amy. Chief, have you noticed anything, or John Bordoni?
I mean, when I'm up there, the restaurants are generally open, so I don't smell anything that's putrid. But not to say that doesn't happen. I would agree with Amy that there are things that are dropped on the ground. We're not keeping track of how quickly they're picked up or how they're picked up.
Do you think, Amy, that do you think it's from the trash cans, that we've got more trash cans that we've placed that with additional trash cans that could be it? Or do you really think it's coming off from people not clearing up the area and, like you said, dropping it and smushing it into this?
Yeah, I think it's food being dropped from the eating areas, from the tables onto the ground.
Okay. All right. We need to keep an eye on that, because those businesses have a revocable encroachment agreement, and they have signed up that that's their extension of their businesses, and they're responsible for keeping that clean and maintained. So we will take a look at that and keep an eye on that. Thanks for those comments, Amy.
Sure.
You have anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Amy.
All right, next up, I've got Green Westerman. Just gonna promote her so that she can talk.
Corinne?
There she is. I don't know what happened there. She may have hung up.
Corinne, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, but I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, I believe, is Mrs. Luco.
Candy? Can you hear us, Candy?
Hi, guys.
Hi,
Thanks for
Candy.
having this public outreach.
Of course.
I had two questions. One is, I have property across the street from 2800 Minor Street, and I never received a notification that they were doing their public outreach. When was that, and who do I give my comments to?
So, Andy or John, do you have the date that they did that? Now, this is, Katie, this is the process that they had to do their own. This was not something that the city set up. And John or Diane, can you answer the question about the notification for that outreach?
I can't tell you why she didn't get it, because it was done by the applicant.
And they were required to send out notice within 300 feet of the project, right?
Yes.
Well, I have a property directly across the street, and I will state it here publicly, I would hate to see it be rezoned. I think the rezoning that you guys have in place currently is a good move for our community, for our town, because it will allow for condominium type, actual family residences. And I think that's what we would like to see moving into town. Whereas apartment structures, multi-use like that, I mean, the ones that they showed us at the meetings before COVID hit, they didn't have elevators. They were 2 or 3 stories high. My vision of people trying to carry groceries and children and strollers, and it's not really family oriented. Whereas if it's condos or that type where it's zoned for that now, I feel would be fine down there, would be a good thing.
And
That's
Katie, I don't know if Andy, I think Andy's had a couple of short conversations, but we really haven't heard anything back from that developer since then. Andy, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, Mayor, the latest on that project is I think the developer is trying to decide whether to come in for a rezoning or develop under the current zoning. So I think that is the current situation. I believe what Candy's referring to is there was a community meeting quite a while back, maybe end of last year, and notices are sent out for the community meeting. That's the first step before an applicant can even submit to get community input. I don't know the exact date on that, but certainly for property right across the street, a notice should have been received. And we can certainly follow up on that. And I can certainly pass on Candy's comments to our community development planner under contract right now.
All right, thanks, Andy. Do you have another question for us, Candy?
Well, you know me, I'm sorry, I always have questions.
No, that's what we're here for.
So on the new process, this is kind of along the same lines of notifications to property owners when things are happening within a certain distance. And it looks to me like the new process for the short-term rentals is that the property owners send out notices to the neighbors saying that they're going to put one in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when I got one, I got 2 because I have properties in different places. One of them I didn't see an issue with, but one of them I know for a fact, because I owned that house for 30 years, there is no parking. And I don't know what to do with that.
Okay, what we need to do on that, Candy, is could you get with Diane on that? Because there's much more required. First, we need to see if they've even got a business license to operate one. And make sure that these aren't people that are just opening them up and doing it without going through the proper channels. Because there is quite a list of criteria to be able to do short-term rentals. So if you could do that for us, get with Diane and discuss the property. So we're not doing that in a public forum, and let us look into that and get back with you with some answers.
Okay, I did try to get a hold of Diane and left a couple voicemails, so I will continue.
Okay.
That I just wanted to make sure I had the process right, that Diane's the person I need to talk to.
That is correct.
Okay.
And then my last question is, sorry.
Okay.
My last question is, I see that the Virginia Canyon Mountain Park has been approved and all of those things. And I saw, with the first grant, it was designed, and I brought up several times that there was access issues and parking issues. But I guess my question tonight is, how much will the built out Virginia Canyon Mountain Park actually cost, the entire thing that you guys have designed?
I'm gonna let John Kane answer that question.
Candy, are you talking about like a phase 1 or like a complete build out of everything?
I'd like to know what a complete build out is actually going to cost.
I'm not 100% sure if we have on the trails side of it, there's a lot of different configurations that are there. The phase 1 configuration, which is a trail, a pedestrian trail to the top of the first peak in the park on the south side, the first peak from the south side. plus a bicycle trail that goes up as well from the saddle up to Santa Fe Mine Road approximately. That work will probably cost in the neighborhood of about $1 million. There will probably be some grants available to us that we can use to build those trails, and they don't all have to be built right at once. It just depends on our financing and our funding and what we're able to do and what we're able to take, to take on as a city as a project. And that's an estimate because there's also, when you build a trail, what's done is they identify a corridor, and then within that corridor, there's some latitude for what kind of trail is designed based on the context of the environment at the time.
And that was kind of one, because there's a lot of stuff up there. There's restroom facilities and all kinds of things in your plan. I just can't see $1 million cutting it.
That's our best estimate from the engineers who designed it. So, and like you said, projects change over time, and it really depends on what we're building. But I think that would be the goal of a first phase, was to be a pedestrian trail that goes to the first peak on the south, and then up the saddle of the Santa Fe Mine Road.
So phase 1 will be $1 million. Do I hear you correctly?
Potentially. It depends on what all is built. It may turn out that, that there's some economy of scale to build the bike trail and the pedestrian trail together, or one or the other is precluded just because of the situation in the city at the time. But that is what we have been told the phase 1 project should cost.
How many phases are there, Jonathan?
I think that depends on the overall build out of the park and what the city is looking for from this recreational facility. There's always going to be ways to improve things, and maybe we want to do things like consider armored trails in places where we know we'll have runoff and where the trails might be damaged to make them easier to maintain over time. So this is the kind of project where it's really about what is the best recreational facility for the city in terms of maintenance and for the residents. What can we put in that's going to be, take care of that space and protect the environment there and the severe winter range for the sheep and all of those things. There's a lot of considerations up there that, it's like any project. We can do a lot of things, or we can kind of build a good kind of structured middle ground. I think that's still, it depends on funding somewhat, like what we have available to us. Depends on, are we able to get another GOCO grant to help us cover some of these costs? Is it something that needs to come purely from city funds? So, that's something that we've been really looking for as funding partners at the state level for recreation from a lot of these industries like Colorado Parks and Wildlife and Go Outdoors Colorado that have vested interest in outdoor recreation for our community. And also, like I said, those bighorn sheep, protecting their winter range right now, they are severely impacted by the activities that are happening up there. And these trails could help protect them long-term as well. So there is some funding opportunities based on those kind of considerations.
There's also, I believe, was it $15 million with either GOCO or how much was in that?
It's called a resiliency grant, and it's to promote outdoor recreation in a community like ours. And so we're able to apply for up to $1 million. I think we're likely to get at least $250,000 from this fund. And so we've been looking at applying to that to help cover some of these costs as well.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Candy? You have anything else for us?
No, I'm sorry I tuned in late and missed the parking structure stuff. When I talk to Diane, I'll have her update me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John?
Okay, next I've got Miss Karen Hager.
Hi, Karen. Can you hear us? Karen?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Next, I don't know who this individual is. They're identified as JR.
JR?
Hi, this is Janet Romer.
Hi, Janet. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, everybody. Thanks for doing what you're doing. And you know what? I don't have a comment. I'm just listening.
Okay, all right. Thank you for being on with us this evening.
Okay, next is Miss Lalitha Christian.
Lalitha, you're on and have questions for us?
Hey, all. No, I do not have a question for you, but thanks for having me.
Okay, I want to introduce Lalitha to all the council and anybody else that's out there. Lalitha is with Henderson Mine. Most of us knew Tara Hosick for many, many years. And Lalitha has taken her place, and we're really excited to have her on board and working with the city and the county on lots of good things to come. So thanks, Lalitha, for being on with us.
Thanks, Mayor Hillman, and I look forward to meeting you all eventually in person.
All right, thank you.
We have one more individual. It's Mr. Paul Fiorino.
Paul, do you have something to say, please?
You news about. Hello, this is Paul Noel Fiorino, and Honorable Mayor and Council in the city of Idaho Springs. I bring you Wilson E. Sisty, S-I-S-T-Y. He is all over in searches now. It's been a good 20 years of research, and I'm happy to bring him to you today, July 6th, 1860, was when Idaho Springs was made the center of hospitality and tourism and organized by Wilson E. Sisty, your new town founder. I hope this brings excitement and controversy, but at the same time, I hope you do your research and find the right place and the right time that this man has played his role coming from Denver. And you have Denver there now, as you brought up, the queen of preservation in history. We now have someone to really celebrate, and that is Sisty, the father of Denver and the police department. And now he's coming up to the mountains to be, like I say, the father of hospitality and tourism with the spa hotel known as the Beebe House, but also Brookvale on the other side of the mountain. And speaking of the mountain may need a new name, and this may be your name, Wilson Sisty. Please check it out. Please look it up. Look up all the candidates on the ballot for November 2020. I'm letting you know also, if you don't know, I am on the ballot for the Unity Party under the Congressional District 1 in Denver, Sheridan, Greenwood Village, and Englewood. But thank you, and please do research, and I look forward to the children of Clear Creek County being excited about this new pioneer, because he has been lost and found, and there's a lot to read and hear about him. We just released a movie, essentially a story that you just listen to. Boring as that could be, I'll tell you, by the time you're done with it, you will have a whole new perspective on Colorado history. Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for being on this evening. All right. Well, we're at 6:27. I think we did pretty good. We have our work session coming up in about 3 minutes. So at this time, if everyone wants to take a quick minute, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes. Thanks everybody that came on with us tonight. Again, if you ever have any questions or concerns, you have my email address, open door policy with all the council, and open door policy with City Hall. Thank you very much.
So do you have to call back in?
I hope not.
Hello. I'm okay. How about yourself? Josh came in and looked at everything and did looked at the liner and all that other stuff. But there's some confusion going on between myself, what Josh had to say, and Kim as far as the cost factor of all this stuff. So I was waiting for an email from Josh that he was going to send to Kim to see if we can get it all clarified. No, I like to keep somebody in there because Josh mentioned that it's $1,400 plus to put this thing in, and that's not what I was told from from Kim. So. Well, well, no, that's not the problem. Problem is my sister-in-law had one put in by Inglewood, and I believe you gentlemen handled it. And I saw her cost factors, and she did put in a little different unit that I'm putting in, and I don't know about if she needed a liner or not. And her whole thing came to about $2,900 with what Josh said today, and the other thing we're talking over $5,000, almost $6,000 for me. Seems way out of line. So I either was not told the truth by Inglewood, or there's a misunderstanding on my.
Sorry, everybody, I got booted out.
I think we're having an internet problem in town this evening.
All right, do we have all the council back on? Jim Clark will not be with us tonight. He notified me earlier in the month that he wasn't going to be able to attend tonight. Once I see all the council's faces, I'll get
Is
started.
anybody here, Arthur?
We can hear you, Art.
Can you guys hear me? No.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well,
can't see you.
Let's try this.
Got it figured out yet, Art? Okay, Art can hear us, so let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can, Art.
Okay, I do not believe my phone will last for this whole meeting, so if I chop off, I'm off.
Okay.
All right.
All right. The first thing tonight on our work session is the library landscaping project. Over the past several years, there's been a plan after the remodel of our library. There was also a landscape project that was supposed to be go along with that. It has not been done. Libby with the library district has been working on this very diligently. There's Libby. Hi, Libby. And we met with them about a little over a week ago to talk about some of the things that they are looking at. Now, in the agreement, the city is responsible to pay for this landscape project. It is a city-owned property. And I believe the first design that we saw was, I think it was $250,000. I believe that it's been scaled back quite a bit from that. And what I want to kind of do is let Libby talk about what's going on over there and the desires and the time frame of getting this thing going and the expectations of the partnership with the library district and the city.
Thanks for your time tonight, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Just a little bit about me, because I don't know that many of you, and I'm sorry about that. I've been working on my master's degree the last 2 years, but I've been with the library district for 4 years now. I started as a branch manager at the John Tomei Memorial Library, and then the past 3 years I've been the district library director. I have a family. We live on Fall River, thankfully before the switchbacks, which is kind of nice, but my boys are in the school district here, and we're really loving feedback. Anyway, if I see you out and about, please say hi, because I'm always grateful to meet new people. I've been in library services about 15 years now, so it's kind of my passion and joy, and I'm happy to have services in such a collaborative, welcoming community. And I just want to really stop and thank Bob Boland and Jonathan and Andy for the opportunity to collaborate with you guys and possibly get some feedbacks as we officially move forward with this project. Just to summarize, our main goals is obviously to match the beauty and modern functionality of the inside of this amazing historic library and get our grounds to match that standard. We want a comfortable and safe space for our patrons. I bet many of you know we have lots of young patrons that use the space out there. And then we also want a welcoming area for tourists. It's kind of a nice view from the downtown, and we really want to embrace, you know, welcoming people into our community and showing that we have a beautiful community with the landscape project. I guess tonight's kind of to collect your feedback and see where we go from here. I will pass that on with our building advisory committee, and we can go from there with our plans. To practically implement this project, we divided the renovations up into 3 phases, and we're only working on the first phase of the project. I think everybody got the packet, and that shows the phase in the entirety. So I'm going to go ahead and show my screen about the phase we're specifically talking about for the first phase. Hopefully that worked. I have highlighted the area of the first phase. In green is what we have prioritized getting done. We need to take care of The sump pump unit, which is this green box right here, not shown in this plan, but shown in the packet of the site building plans. And then take care of drainage. We really need to get water moving away from the building. We need to mitigate flood risk. And then we also need to create some safe sidewalks, either due to some frost heaving or some other movement with the concrete. The sidewalk that is in this area right now has two pretty risky tripping behaviors, especially maybe for patrons with special abilities or senior patrons. So taking care of those objectives for a safe walking environment is our main goal in the first phase. And then I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the flooding issues with the building, but over the past 5 to 7 years, we've been getting water in the basement. A few years ago, we had a major monsoon that actually flooded our basement from the Minor Street exit all the way back to the children's area, if you're familiar with that, but that's quite a bit of the footprint in the library. And we have already eliminated the ADA accessible ramp that was currently in this area because water was draining in there, and even the new sump replacement would not keep up with the water drainage in that area. Since we have removed that ramp, which was part of our insurance requirement, we have not had any flooding issues at that point. Obviously, we don't want to test it, and we have to reinstall our new sump in this area, which is currently in progress. That has been funded for by the Library District Board for an insurance claim. So that is not a cost to any other entity. This first phase in green, and if we have any leftover area, we'll move into the blue areas, is actually covered by our building advisory committee. They have been fundraising for this project for quite a while and are putting, as funding allows, doing as much of the green and blue in this diagram that we can. I guess I will go ahead and pause if there's any questions on that.
Do you have any questions, council?
Is there a new ADA entrance since that other one was eliminated?
Yes, there. When they completed the renovation, the back entrance, so the alleyway, it goes directly to our elevator that gets on all 3 levels of the library. Great question.
And the other thing, council, that we are going to work on with this also is the drainage from the elementary school that also contributes to the drainage problem. We identified that our property, the city's property, goes almost right up to their building. I know that Andy and I believe John and John met with Alan Smith, the current, he's almost done in 4 days, but the current maintenance director for the school district. So we want to protect not only our library property and make sure that the drainage and everything goes well over there, but the other drainage and fixing that will also protect our central hose house. That there's a potential with a monsoon downpour that we could get some damage over there. So this is not only about making sure that the library gets the landscaping that it deserves and that our community deserves, but fix some other things along with it. Any more questions, council, that you'd like to ask Libby?
Yeah, Libby, because we took state historic funds, we're basically obligated to get the state's approval for any type of groundwork or landscaping that we're going to be doing. And for lack of a better term, we're on the hook for about 9 more years. At the time of the original approval, I want you to know that the city was aware of the damage that was incurring on the Civil War cannon. About $30,000 was spent on the restoration of that cannon, and it quickly started to deteriorate because it's out in the elements. And I'm only saying this because we would, when I say we, I'm saying there were some in the town who would have preferred to see a gazebo or some type of protection for the Civil War cannon. And it was denied by the state because it was not part, or it was not believed to be part of the original grounds. This has only come to light, at least I've only gained knowledge of this in the last month. Our retired county coroner, who is really an avid historic photo guy, Don Allen, has brought forward a photo of a gazebo on the library grounds, oddly enough, in almost that exact location. And I'm just suggesting that perhaps the state would be a little more willing to have some protection for the cannon that's, been there 120 years, just to prevent the town from having to pay to continually fix up a cannon that, much of it is white oak or metal that's just out in the weather. And it was just disheartening, I think, for a lot of folks who raised the $30,000 to fix it up, to see it deteriorate in the weather. So I'm sorry, but because I believe you said that you had been with the library for about 4 years, that you might not have been privileged at some of that information.
I appreciate that, Chuck. We actually, I should say, Dean Clark talked to the Historical Society last Thursday. They brought up the same issue. We do have a few changes in the project, so we'll have to go back to the state at this point if we make those changes in the project. That is something that we would be willing to ask for again, as long as the building advisory committee moves forward in that direction. I just want to note that that will obviously be in the details of phase 2 or phase 3. Right now, we have to get the water away from the building and protect the building and watch those tripping hazards on the sidewalk. But I'm more than happy to search or obtain more information from Historic Colorado on moving forward with that suggestion. The good news is we have until 2029, October of 2029 to finish the project. So we have lots of time to save money in between and do this in a fiscally responsible way. And we can include indicias like that. And
I also want to compliment the thought process here, because clearly your priorities have been in the right place. When you had flooding issues and tripping hazards, I think that is very appropriate to be handled in this first phase.
Thank you, Chuck. And just, I mean, that's a pretty good segue. So where we've come so far to get this project to come to fruition is in 2017, the project was approved with that 2019 deadline. Jonathan Kane talked to the Sites and Facilities Board. They did write a letter of approval way back in 2017, but we wanted to circle back around with him again, which he did. So they're on our communication docket. And like I mentioned, Dean Clark talked to the Idaho Springs Historical Society. They're on board with the phase 1. Again, looking at that gazebo piece was another suggestion from that entity. And as Mary Hilton said, Andy Marsh facilitated a great conversation with the maintenance folks at the school district and looking at them resolving the flooding mitigation where it actually comes from their building on the east side of Carlson. So that project, that was a successful communication contact. And then we've begun the process. We're really hope to use local contractors, and we think it's important to keep our money locally and again, invest in our economy. And so We're at phase one. We're working with Mark Turner. Hopefully we can pin him down before bow season starts, because we might not see him after that for a while. And then Steve Kearley is helping us, and Paul out of Empire, and I think it's Golash, but I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. You probably know better. So those are our local contractors that are working on the bid process for us right now. And again, we're very preliminary, just collecting feedback from you guys, so I can circle back around with our local board and our district library board before moving forward.
Okay. Anything else, council? Well, Libby, thanks for the update. Let's get this thing continue to move forward. One thing that Libby did not mention, she mentioned her kids and where she lived, but she did not mention that her husband works for the city. He's one of our water and wastewater operators, so Justin. So all part of the family. So, all right, with that, thanks, Libby. Look forward to
thank you guys. If you do want to reach out, I'll just put my email in the chat. It's really easy, libby@cccld, Clear Creek County Library District.org. So do connect with me if something comes up. I'm more than happy to listen, and I could use public feedback as much as possible. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Libby. All right, with that, we've got another topic, and we've got about 10 minutes. Expansion of the residential parking area. As I mentioned earlier, we have every Monday a recovery task force meeting. And we also, when we re-implemented the paid parking, we had taken advice and direction from our parking task force and their recommendations, which most of those are in effect and have been done. We did get an email about a week ago with some complaint that the visitors are starting to park further down Colorado Boulevard. Our cutoff now was 10th Avenue, but they're starting to see some at 11th. I mean, I'm sorry, the other way, 9th and 8th. And I'm sure that is contributed by our reduction in parking downtown this year with the construction and with Minor Street being closed. So people are parking a little bit further away. And what we would like to do, and what I'm posing to council and get the okay for, is for us to go ahead and get Interstate to expand our paid parking area and this is mainly about residential parking, a block or even 2 blocks east. It's real easy for us to do, get with Interstate, but we definitely wanted to have this discussion with the rest of council and get your thoughts and make sure that you are aware that we're doing this. So if somebody asks you, you have the knowledge of when we did it, why we did it. And the other thing is also give us, the city, the time to notice the people in those areas. We had another area that we put signs up, and there were some residents that were upset that they felt that they didn't get properly notified. So we made good on that, and we notified that whole area before we actually started enforcing. I think we've got that done. So we're making sure that we do this right, being proactive about the noticing and getting the signs up before they just come up and everybody's scratching their head. What is this? And what do we need to do so we don't get a ticket? John, you do a lot of the parking. Do you have anything to add?
No, sir. I think that the thing to remember is that while every resident can get a permit to park anywhere in the city, most people just park and use those to park in the lots. These people will need to get a permit to park on this. You'll have to have a residential permit to park on the street there, but we don't limit people's guests and it doesn't cost anything. So if you have like a guest that comes to your home all the time or a birthday party or something like that, you don't have to not do that because you don't have a permit. We have a process where you can email Interstate, or you can even, if you have a regular guest, you can just register them as a person in your house. So for all intents and purposes for residents, this doesn't change anything. It really just makes it so that tourists can't take advantage, freeload off that parking right there.
And protect our citizens, our residents. Yes. Any questions, council? So with that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get Interstate, we'll expand it. We'll notify those new areas that this is going to be residential parking now, and what the process is to ensure that they're registered and that they've got their permits so they can park in those areas.
Hey, Mike, I have a question in parking in general. Do we still have a parking task committee or a committee at all that meets every once a year or twice a year?
The parking task force, kind of after they made recommendations back to council, kind of at that point, I wouldn't call it dissolved, but we felt that the work that we asked them to do had been done. John Kane did reach out for a conversation in a meeting with all the task force members, and I think he said he got 2 responses. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, and I think it's also summertime and COVID-19 are some of the considerations there. One of the recommendations that you guys approved in the framework that they provided was there should be a annually, some kind of annual review of the parking program by some kind of task force like the parking task force. So that's something that we could maybe think about in the next couple of months, is getting a new group together or seeing who wants to participate from the older group to start looking at things and seeing if we need to change anything up.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't pandemic, I think we'd have some real issues downtown with the way that CDOT is tying up some of that parking.
And believe me, Andy and I have been fighting with them tooth and nail, trying to get them to remove some of that equipment and product that they're using to all the water pipes and sewer pipes and manholes and things like that. And it just, they say it's just not feasible. There's nowhere to move it. And we're staying on them because we have seen days that they weren't even out there working. And that troubles me too, that if they say they're going to take up our parking so they can get it moving forward, and then there's nobody out there working. So Andy and I are addressing that.
And then one other issue that I've noticed, I don't know if there's any plan to get more of a permanent signage going on, because I don't think on the fences, sometimes the people actually notice the signage on fences at people's residential areas.
And I think that's something that we need to look at. I actually got an email from somebody that I believe they got a ticket, and they said, well, we didn't even see the sign because it was on somebody's fence. And when I got out of my car, I didn't see it. So that is something that we need to continue to work on. John?
That's an experiment that we did last year to try to see if we could get more signage into the community. And to be honest, it hasn't worked extremely well. I mean, there's been mixed results depending on the area. We would prefer to have street signs up if we can, but there's some places where it may make sense to have it on walls and stuff. So
yeah, and if this keeps continuing forward, I think it's kind of important that we improve that signage, because I've had people parking by my house, they don't notice the signage.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Are we
Okay.
still- Hey, Mayor?
Yes, Art?
Are we still on the old contract with the parking company? I mean,
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
permanent then?
That's a month-to-month contract.
Okay.
Andy?
Mayor, just to clarify, do we want to expand the residential permit parking area to 9th or to 8th?
I say if we're gonna do it, let's just do it to 8. The only other, down in that 8th block, we don't have football games anymore. So we won't have those Friday nights that people are coming to the game that would be parking over there. I say let's just expand it. I don't think there's any harm to go ahead and doing that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and expand it to 8 then. And we'll make sure there's some notification to the residents before that's signed and then enforced.
Okay, thank you, Andy. All right, last chance, council. All right, we're doing good. We got 2 minutes till 7, so hang loose. We'll get into our regular meeting.
Almost there, Diane.
Yep. Record.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. July 27th, 2020, our regular scheduled city council meeting. I do know before we even do roll call, Bob Bolin had to take off. He won't be attending tonight. Also, Councilman Clark will not be with us tonight. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hellman,
Here.
Scott Pennell,
Here.
Chuck Harmon,
Here.
John Curtis,
Here.
Art Cacavelli,
Here.
Bob Bolin, and Jim Clark.
All right, please stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we have an agenda in front of us tonight. Does anybody have any additions or to add to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda for July 27th, 2020 meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Have Scott and Art first and second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move. Does anybody on council feel they have a conflict of interest tonight? Hearing none, we'll move down with our minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from July 13th and July 20th, 2020.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I second.
Who was our second?
Scott Pennell.
Scott, okay. Discussion. Anybody see anything in the minutes that we need to correct? With none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll move to the bills. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the bills to July 27th, 2020.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Anybody have any questions that need to be clarified on our bills? Okay, hearing none. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
All right, we will move down. We don't have any, do we have any unscheduled public comment?
No, sir.
Thank you, Diane. All the way down to our resolution. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 21, series 2020, a resolution calling a special municipal election to be coordinated with the state general election on November 3rd, 2020, referring a ballot question to designate the city clerk as an appointed position and fixing the ballot title for the city.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, discussion. Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's do a roll call, please.
Michael Hillman,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Chuck Harmon,
Yes.
John Curtis,
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Now we'll go on down. We don't have any ordinance first or second readings. Andy, city administrator.
Mayor and council, you have my report with no request for action.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Andy? All right. Thanks, Andy. Thanks for the list of everything that we've done this last couple of weeks. We'll move down to Diane, City Clerk.
Mayor and council, you have my staff report for your review with no request for action.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Diane? The only thing I have a question for you, Diane, the Agati withdrawn the change of ownership, so it just stays like it is. Carmen, maybe you can add, is there anything else that we need to do? Is it just, it is what it is? It goes away.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I can address that. It basically is what it is. Diane and I chatted a little bit when she got the request to withdraw, and as is always the case with a local marijuana license, much like a local liquor license, your local approval was and always is contingent upon state approval of the same thing, right? The same licensing action. So in this case, even though the city acted to approve the proposed transfer, that was never fully pursued and obtained at the state level. So, you know, in my view, not to go down the rabbit hole too far, but in my view, then, because of the contingency of your local action, we don't have to formally act. You don't have to formally act to undo that. It never fully came to be because of the lack of state approval on the same. The applicant apparently abandoned that before getting state approval. If he had gotten state approval, I think we'd be in a very different situation and we'd have to sort of unwind what occurred. But as it is, you're just good to go. But I did suggest that Diane let you know that that happened, and just so you were aware.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Carmen.
You bet.
All right. The other thing, if you in our packets, Bill Mayer, the chair of the Planning Commission, has officially resigned. He's served this community a long time. I meant to mention it in our public forum, but I did not have that on my list. He served the community well over all these years. What I'd like to do, and Andy asked, is maybe get a little plaque to present to Bill for all of his service in that position and being the chair and chairing that committee. So if everybody's okay with that, thumbs up. Everybody's good? Okay, we'll move forward with that. All right, thank you, Diane. All right, we'll move down. Chief?
Mayor and council, I will refer you to my report, and I have no requests for action.
All right, anybody have any questions for the chief?
Thanks for handling the parking or the traffic this weekend, Chief.
Well, it felt like it was a losing battle for a while, but we finally got a grip on it.
All right, thanks, Chief. Now we'll move to Public Works and / Water and Wastewater.
Mayor, Council, I'll refer you to my staff report with no request for action. I would like a little bit of guidance from council on what the pleasure is for the deck around the train. It is getting extremely rotted and unsafe at this time. I think if nothing else, it needs to be closed. And I've had requests basically to remove it to keep people from climbing on the train, but we absolutely need to do something with the deck, either close it or try and repair it or remove it. My preference is to remove it and just fill that area temporarily for now with weed barrier and gravel, if that's what the council would like to do.
Scott, you're on the Historic Sites and Facilities Committee. And Andy and I and John have talked about this before. And personally, I think he's right. I think it's time to remove it, get it out of there, and then start making a plan for either another way to view it or to start looking at another viewing deck and another deck to put around it. Any ideas or concerns or wishes from the council?
Is Bob Bolin involved with that train a lot? Maybe he has some ideas. I know he's not here tonight.
I believe Bob thought it would be a good idea just to remove the existing platform. I probably need to talk to him again, but I believe that's what he said. John?
Most of the train enthusiasts have never liked that deck because it ruins the picture. So they've all wanted that for a long time. We do need a better viewing solution. But I think that and we do probably, you know, I've informed Phyllis of this, but she also, you guys would, Sites and Facilities Committee would probably want to talk about it maybe a little bit further. But I think that we had gotten a grant from Freeport, which we repurposed to replace that platform anyway this year. That may be a little bit further off now, but the deck is just, it's like John said, it's completely rotten.
Well, I think if it's a liability, we need to remove it.
I think we got consensus from council.
Agreed.
So there's your direction, John.
Okay, we will close it off definitely, and then we will start the process of removal.
Right, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Andy?
I agree wholeheartedly with closing it now. And then I think, John Kane, we can get a consult with Sites and Facilities about this, correct? And just make sure they're okay with removing it. If they have any issues with that, we can bring that back to council. But I'm like you, I'm pretty confident they're going to be okay with removing it, as long as the site is restored to some way, as John was describing, with gravel.
I also did reach out to GoCo, who did finance part of this deck. They indicated they have no problem if we remove it. It's at the end of its life. So we don't have any issues on that point either.
John, I have two questions for you. One, when you say remove and the gravel and weed block, is that something that the city would do, or were you looking for a bid on that?
No, that's something we would do.
Okay. And then, you know, just to digress from a few meetings ago, so we're unloading this skidster, and I just want to confirm, did you say that website was govdeals.com? Is that right? Okay.
All right, any more comments, council? So the direction will be for Andy to get and John to get with the Sites and Facility group and discuss that, and we'll make a plan for removing that. Anything with the water and wastewater, John?
Like you stated earlier, the project 1 is about 98% complete. We have signed the contract for project 2, and that has started with the delivery of a lot of equipment. Some of it has started to be installed, but that's where we stand right now with that project.
All right, any other questions? All right, any committee reports? All right, hearing none. It is 7:12. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. Good meeting, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Have a good week. Stay safe.